COT's base of operations is right here at thecouncilofTime.com. COT has no other outlet or venue. These are other folks who will rebroadcast. Anything COT does is by the main page here at thecouncilofTime.com. It's been some, half the country is in good weather. The other half you can't really speak for. So I hope that you guys that are in the parts that are having nice weather, remember these 2 weeks of nice weather, decent weather for a change. We know they're going to take a turn. Actually, nobody quite knows the absolute forecast, which is going to take place. But we do know some of the drought has disappeared. That's good news. What's so ironic is it takes 1 week for a drought to return. That's the strangest thing anybody could ever say. Unfortunately, that's what the USA has been going through. Tonight, we're going to have a Q&A. We're going to deviate and have a Q&A. I want you guys to be as forthcoming as possible. I'm going to be writing, right? This week coming up, we start 2 ventures. 1, the whole story. That's a simplified, detailed version of the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. That's one. The other is a series of midnight hours. All right, so that means you guys have to, you're going to have to keep me awake during the midnight hours by being active. But the midnight hours are designed for a time that we're going into. Actually, a lot of people are facing it. Just in case you have not noticed, you may not be one of those who subscribes to all these weird events that are happening. But there's been an increase in, you could say, strangeness in the world for some time now. It is really reaching a level that's hurting people. Right? There are lots of people being hospitalized for strange things, right, when they encounter these things. We have geo changes that are very difficult to track. They don't make sense, and it'd be a good idea if you guys knew about lots of these different systems and geo problems and the true nature of them. For example, the part of the talk I had last night concerning the earthquake in Russia, I want you guys to see the dynamics of how that takes place, what the problem is, right? Which means I've brought to bear some things, some visual aids for you guys, so that you can really get a grip and a handle on a very simplistic visual that will help explain what the problem is, so that you can better anticipate what to expect. Then you'll note the concern. Also, I want to clarify some of the interactions between the USA and Russia. I cannot help but to go back into what the Lord showed me. And what he showed me about the USA and Russia was the USA was not going to take Russia seriously. Right after that time, Russia was targeting 3 specific places in the world. And it was the Russian Navy, Middle Eastern components, Africa components, and components from all over the world, and Asian components. They were all underneath this hangar white tented area near the water on a concrete slab. Everything was on this big concrete slab near the water. And they targeted the USA. The bad part is they carried this out. They did carry it out. Now there's a meeting with, as I said last night, there would be a meeting in a couple of days, and I guess today the news is out that that couple of days is when the meeting is going to happen between Putin and President Trump. We don't know what the outcome will be, but I suspect that if you guys begin to see a type of cooperative effort. And then you have strange soldiers on USA soil. Watch out. Watch out. There are so many different angles to this, but the outcome is the same. I don't know about you, but the Lord won't allow me to escape the outcome of what's coming. Right? And just so you guys have a good idea, I hate war. I do. I hate war. I never get excited about war, about fighting, about contentions. I hate that stuff. I'm not one of those who likes, the shoot 'em up movies. I can't stand those either. So I don't like that stuff. But unfortunately, the Lord will not allow me to escape this image He's put in my head from time to time. That same set of images always returns. Always does. And humanity is on track. I mean, it's right on track with what the Lord showed me. There's no deviation in what's happening today in comparison to what the Lord has shown me. No deviation. So I need to lay those out for you guys in full because you only have a smidget of that. So I'm going to give you guys all the details. Normally when I tell a dream, I will highlight elements of that dream and give it to everybody. And the reason why I do that, you'd be surprised if the Lord gave you something authentic and you gave it to everybody else, all the intimate details of it. There are a lot of people out there that would take that dream, right? They would then change it, alter it, do whatever they have to do, and then say that you said it, right? So in keeping back some of those details, like dates and people involved, the Lord's very specific. I told you guys before Obama was even thought about. His name he was in one of those dreams in 1994. Now think about that. Obama, right, was in one of the dreams the Lord showed me. And I wrote that down in 1994. And the name Obama was the craziest name I'd ever heard in my life, right? But that's what the Lord showed me. And then when Clinton was president, the Lord pointed Obama out. And so I just, you can't help but to keep what the Lord gives you. And I went around and I said, that's an ex-president. That new senator right there is an ex-president. They said, not in your lifetime. That's what they said. Not in your lifetime. I said, he will be president. And everybody was, no, that will never happen. But I couldn't escape. And of course I was scoffed. Of course I was. And of course people would come back and say, well, things don't look like that's going to happen. They would do that. But I just sit back because I know what the Lord gives me. And then time proves all things. Time proves all things. All right? There's also in this with this presidency, there's an interesting fact. You guys somebody is bound to find. They're bound to find it. It is one of the craziest facts you've ever heard in your life. And it has to do with President Trump. And it's a fact. And it is what it is, right? Somebody's going to find that fact. It'll be one of those haphazard searches. They'll find that fact. And they'll say, well, there it is. There it is. There it is. So even in your dreams, I give you a caution on something. If the Lord gives you a dream, never alter any of it. Don't ever do that. Never alter it. Don't try and fix it. Don't try and do any of that. But ask the Lord about the dream. Ask him about that dream, right? And if it stays with you, if it's from the Lord, you're going to have no choice but to face that dream time and time again, right? But don't change any of it. Don't try to make it come true. Don't try to make it, be nothing. Don't do that. Just keep it. That's a pearl for you. And it actually serves as guidance. And when things happen in the world, you're not going to be shocked by it. You're not going to be surprised by it. And, there's Everybody who knows me personally, they know I'm never surprised by what happens in the world. And probably the reason why is the Lord does prepare me for things that happen. I can even tell you why the Lord allows me. He gives me those things. Right? He's not doing it randomly. He's purposed all things. I happen to care about humanity. Right? So I don't take an angle. I'm not on the Democrat side. I'm not on the Republican side. I'm on humanity's side, just in case you have not noticed. And so I'm not for or against these people. They're just doing things in the world under a system that they happen to, be stuck in. They have to live in that system. I take humanity's side, and I like the kingdom view. Right? And I'm ready to risk or sacrifice what needs to be sacrificed for the sake of people. But I don't take sides when it comes to the chess game of the world. I'm not doing that. I just don't do that. I'm neutral. I stand for the kingdom. I see something. I don't like the way these systems are designed. I can't stand it. And the more I used to learn about these systems, the more I would see a prison. The systems are the prison. Right? The systems. So, because I do that, I'm not afraid to talk to you guys. It's not like I'm qualified to talk to anybody. This is a passion. It's like a burning that starts on the inside. Right? It never stops. There are so many things I want to talk to you guys about, and sometimes the Lord will allow me to talk about it. Sometimes He won't. Sometimes it's the timing is not right. There are often times I have prematurely talked about things here in COT and nobody heard it. Nobody picked up on it. It's because when you start to discuss some sort of theme that is beyond the scope of another person, right? Nobody's going to be able to interpret that and utilize that. So I have to stay within the scope of the timing of the Lord so that things are needful and useful, right? So that the body can be edified by it, lifted up, not put down. Because this whole story, and hopefully nobody ever forgets this whole story about life is about you. It's about your birth, you being raised, you being delivered. That's what this is about. It's not about the people who are going to burn, right? It's not about the folks who are loyal to Satan. It's not about the demons. It's not even about the angels. It's about you. It's about your process. And every step in this process is an incredible period of growth that offers knowledge, wisdom. You're talking about eternal wisdom is what you guys are being bestowed upon you. Not useless knowledge. It is useless. It's very useless. And I want to diminish anybody's life goals, but it's useless to learn half the stuff on this earth because it's not eternal, right? Fire will ultimately consume everything mankind has built, and the only thing that's eternal are the values that are bound in truth, the love that's given in truth. Those things discussed of the kingdom that are bound in righteousness. Those are eternal things. Everything else is temporary. And if you start seeing life that way, most of what we do is temporary. It is. Life is going to work itself out. Life will ultimately reach a specific time based upon the Most High, whether we are ready for it or not. It's not based on our readiness. It's not what it's based on. It's based on God's declarations. That's by His wisdom. If He determines that we should be ready on a specific time at a specific date, then He's going to give us an opportunity to be ready. And anybody who refuses to be ready, how can they belong to Him? How can anybody belong to the living God if they refuse His instruction? Even throughout the Word of God, we've seen people do this. They seem to be righteous, or they seem to be good, but then when it came down to it, they did not choose any of the Lord's wisdom. They didn't. Now, does that mean you go through life not learning things about this world? You better, because you have to live in this, you're living in this process. Learn everything that you may better understand humanity. I'm going to say that one more time. Because somebody asked me one time, why do you even bother with academia? Because I want to better understand my fellow man. You can't talk to an educated person unless you speak their language. You can't jump on the same level as somebody else unless you have specific qualifications that will put you in proximity to that individual. So the more you learn about these systems and things on the earth, the more people you have a door open to. Does that make sense? So whatever you do, you're still doing it for a noble cause, a righteous cause, right? You are. Plus, some of the things you learn can help people in this this process. We're in this tangible world. We are. So tangible things, we ought to master at some level for the sake of somebody else. I know how to do what do they call it? Master of all trades? No. Jack of all trades, master of none. Right? So you learn how to do lots of things for the sake of lots of people. So you can help just about anybody. Most importantly, so that the door is open between you and everybody else, and you can become useful to everybody else. I love to do things for people. I don't like to do things for me. I find that very difficult to do. It's like a lost cause if I try to do something for myself. So I'm motivated by other people to do things for other people. I live my life that way. You're probably not too dissimilar from that. In some way, form, or fashion, you are living your life for somebody else. You've altered your path to accommodate somebody else's path. When you do that from the heart, that's called sacrifice. If you understand sacrifice, love becomes a very important property, aspect in your life. When you do that. Q&A tonight. But I want you guys to, listen, do you guys really understand there are two types of people in the world? Do you guys understand that? I'm going to open up this conversation. It is part of one of the themes going into probably the end of next week, because we're talking about the whole story, and there's some other side topics we'll talk about. But our main study, we're going to map that out. We're going to have other studies with it, of course, in the midnight hour. But near the end of the week, the subject is going to come out about the two different types of people that live on the earth. Many Christians probably don't really get that. Your time to ask questions. Is it true or not? Is it real or not? And what does the Bible say about it? What did the Lord say about it? And of course, just in case you don't know, the words of Christ are the most important words to me in the Bible. The words of Jesus of Nazareth. They are. But what does the Lord say about it? And is it, do you ever consider that? That there are two types of people. There are people who will never step foot in the kingdom. And there are those who will absolutely be a part of the kingdom. Now, believe it or not, those people will end up being exactly who they are. Somebody says, lost or saved? Not really. Not lost or saved. No. Because think of it this way. A person who is just like you, they're born just like you, they go to school just like you, they're educated just like you, but they're of a different spirit. That person will never step foot in the kingdom because their spirit does not come from the living God. It is not a spirit of the Lord. All things are created by God. But these are not spirits of the Lord, right? They're not. Can you spot them? Yes, you can. A great many cannot. The Lord has shut many eyes concerning it. He even said so in the Word. But they'll never step foot in the kingdom. They do not want to step foot in the kingdom. But you can never tell that in their lives. Some are ministers. Some are ministers. Some are pastors. And they'll never step foot in the kingdom of the living God. They'll never do that. Right? To understand that is to understand what happened a long time ago. And to actually follow that story and the words of God carefully. Not through self-interpretation. Right? No. But through a witness of the word concerning that specific subject. And it does go back to similar to the wheat and the tares. They are seeds sown from the devil. Right? They are. But these are permanently darkened spirits. Permanently. Now, we're not talking about a person out there sinning. Right? That's not what we're talking about. Nope. Because I was a sinner once. You were a sinner once. We're sinners saved by grace. And if anybody looked upon us back during those times, they could have said, hey, you guys were awful condemned. These go through the same life you do. But they're spiritually motivated by something you can never imagine. You don't even know their thought patterns. We're going to talk about some of that tonight. It's important. I believe it's important that you know who is who. But you must do one thing, or you'll never know. You'll always get it wrong. You must never have it in your heart to pass judgment on somebody else. And the way you do that is not by relenting in your statements or anything else, no. But to understand that everybody here on this earth is given an opportunity by the Most High. 1 billion times over. That's what you have to remember. You have to remember that. There is no limit to how many times God will forgive you of things. Right? We're here to go through this process as an opportunity. It is not based on your DNA. It's not. You will shed your flesh. Your DNA is in the flesh, not in the spirit. Your spirit is different from your flesh. Right? Your flesh has nothing to do with this. Your flesh is an influence that you can overcome. You can overcome your flesh. Right? There is no good flesh. None. No good flesh. Sorry, there is none. At the root of all human beings, the flesh craves just like an animal. So without the spirit, we're nothing more than a bunch of animals. I'm not talking about evolution. I'm talking about our insatiable desire to have things and to do things just like animals. It is the spirit of us that overrides the flesh, that keeps us from doing or giving into the flesh, right? You're in the driver's seat, but there are two types of people. Now, when I come back from this small break, you guys get something to drink, get your questions ready, right? Now, when we have Q&A, the mods can often catch the questions that continue to pop up over and over, right? I'll answer as many as I can and incorporate them into the conversation. Don't get angry if your question is not answered. Document your own question. There will be more Q&As. So stay on track. Keep your questions. I think questions are invaluable. I do. They're very good. But be open about them, right? Try not to formulate a question that looks good for everybody else. Make sure they are sincere. And in most cases, not like, don't do it like the news media. Okay, they try to formulate a question and try to elicit an answer that they believe their audience wants to hear. You don't have to do that here. If it's quirky as a quirky question, those seem to be the best ones. So when I come back, ask away. Because I'm sure that people have questions concerning the two types of people on the earth. I'm sure they do. And if you can begin to, if you really know that by the Word of God, it's going to help your walk out a whole lot. It will. If you're walking through this life and you know that some people are destined to go straight to the pit, but that they're given an opportunity from the Most High, then that means you could freely carry the gospel everywhere you go. And if somebody says, no, I don't want to hear anything you have to say, you're not going to take that personally. You're still going to be built up in the strength of the Lord. Your joy will be intact. You won't be shaken, right? You're not going to be knocked off balance or anything else. But you'll know that there are elements on this earth that are against the gospel. And potentially you just ran into one, right? Potentially. And it's not going to be a big deal. If you don't know that there are two types of people on this earth, as the Lord has told us, you're going to expect everybody to be in the same category. Everybody is not in the same category. They're not. And if you expect everybody to be in the same category, then you're going to be forced to pass judgment. Your conversation could be different. You could talk to someone with a little anger and frustration involved. Because you in your heart could be thinking, if this person doesn't get it together, they're done for. Right? The Lord told his disciples, he said, you guys go out 2 by 2. That's what he said. Go out 2 by 2. And if you go to a city or a town and they don't want to hear what you're bringing, he said, don't leave a blessing in that place. Just you shake the dust off your feet and go to the next place. Now, to shake the dust off your feet is a phrase common in the Middle East in certain areas. And it's more like a statement to say, don't bring the residue of the place of rejection into the next place you go. Don't do that. Don't allow yourselves to be tainted by rejection. Don't do it. So shake the dust off your feet. Shake that negativity off of your feet. Shake everything off. Do not bring it to your next location. Do not bring it on your journey. You leave the dirt. You leave the rejection. You leave everything that happened right there with them. And then God said, it'll be better for Sodom and Gomorrah than for them. That's what he said. In other words, he's telling you, when you give it your all, when you really do present something by the Lord, if somebody rejects it, they're not rejecting you, they're rejecting him. Shake the dust off your feet, go somewhere else. If you are personally offended because somebody doesn't receive what you're saying, then you present it yourself. I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not offended if somebody rejects the gospel. I'm not offended because it's the Lord's gospel. And if they reject that gospel, then they're going to have to work that out with him. I'm just a messenger. I'm just bringing a message. It's not, it didn't begin with me. Jesus authored that. So you can offer it to everybody. Not everybody is going to take it. It's like a bunch of starving people. If a bunch of people are starving and you have bread, some people will take the bread, some will not. Some will say, I don't like bread. You may say, but you're starving. They'll say, well, so what? I don't like bread. I'm not going to eat that. You can't do anything with that. You just move on to the next person. Remember something. God does not work by force. Then when I come back, I'm going to discuss some things in the Old Testament. Something about our Father. You know how a lot of people, they say, well, why was God so bloodthirsty? God was not bloodthirsty. Why did God say that a sacrifice gave this sweet savor? They don't understand the phrase. So I'm going to talk to you all about that. Do you guys really think a sacrifice smelled sweet to the Lord like good smelling steak? We're going to come back and talk about that, put some things in perspective. There's a certain religion out there. Have you guys ever looked at a religion with Carthy in it? Anybody? Anybody ever look at that? This religion believes that the God of the Old Testament was Satan. I read 6 of their books. 6. To find out what they were talking about. I read their arguments. All of them. And I'll be the first to tell you I was in disbelief. I was in disbelief at how inwardly they were thinking. Obviously, it was written by people who have an inability to walk their life by grace. They can only do what they do by force. They believe in force. And so because they believe in force, they read in a very specific way. They do. They didn't reject Jesus. They rejected the God of the Old Testament. They said that the God of the Old Testament had to be Lucifer because he ordered killings because of the sacrifices, right? This is their arguments. And they bring up lots of them. That's what they say. That's what they say. And then when it comes to Christ, they say that, well, Christ represented a whole other God, the real God. But in the Old Testament, that was the fake God. And you know, they bring up all these different points. So I read 6 of their books and some of the Gnostic writings that go with it. Their support docs, right? I read that. And I'm absolute 1,000% disagreement with just about everything they said because they missed some very specific points I'm going to talk about tonight. You will face these people. You will face them. You have to get armed with truth. Now, I'm telling you, listen, I talked to a person who was heavily steeped in this same belief, and after we had our discussion, guess what he did? He said, I never saw that before. I have to reconsider some things. It was as simple as that. I didn't press any further, but I gave him a small consideration. And it changed the tone of what he thought he knew. But I can see, I'm a person like this. I can see why they wrote what they wrote. It's not that they stood against Christ. They thought that the Old Testament was too forceful. They said, how can this be a loving God when so much death is being ordered? How can this be a loving God who demands so many sacrifices? I see the argument. I do. All of us have that ability to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes. All of us do. I don't stay there, of course. I do that to understand their perspective. I don't look upon somebody else's perspective, shallow. I don't do that. I go in depth. I'll put myself in their position. Then I begin to see as they see. As I see as they see, I can see their sentiment. That was proven when I talked to the guy and he agreed with me about all the points I was talking about. I said, yes, see, you understand. But then I gave him the real points out of the Bible right there, black and white. He had never considered any of them. Any of them he didn't consider. And when he saw them and when he reread them, he had no choice but to start seeing something else. I didn't force anything, and now this guy is not in that belief system anymore. He's not. Not because of me. Because I was willing to hear him. Because I was willing to really hear him. not fight him, but hear him, to understand him. You know what the Bible says? God encourages us to see it from somebody else's perspective first. That's called to have understanding first. God will prepare you for that. He will keep you while you understand somebody else's perspective. You're not there to fight anything out. You're there to offer something. You're there for the purpose of truth, not to prove everybody else wrong, but to simply offer truth. If you offer truth, that truth is going to fight for itself. Do you know that? Truth does not need you to fight for it. Truth will fight for itself. You just simply need to sow that seed. And when you sow that seed, it is sown. You can walk away from that seed, and that seed is going to be on the direction of our Father. He put us here to sow those seeds, sometimes to water those seeds, but it is God that gives the increase. He determines when the elements of water and soil and everything else works that that seed may germinate and that things may grow. He determines that time. We do not. That's why it says in the Bible, one man can sow a seed, another man can come along and water a seed, but it is God that gives the increase. It is God that gives the increase. It's very simple. You're not promised to see your seeds grow. You're not promised to see what you're watering grow. It's not like a garden that we have, right? We do things by faith, and the Lord takes over. But we're here to sow those seeds of truth. Of truth. So you can't use manipulation with anybody like that. Not with an atheist, not with these Gnostic individuals, not with anybody like that. No. You simply use truth. All truth. You never force any seed in the ground. If they accept it, then the seed is planted. If they will not hear you, you can't sow a seed. And any seed you attempt to plant is going to be ineffective if you force your opinion upon anybody else. God never uses force. He never does. Never. I'll be back. We'll talk about that. Just a few minutes. And those two different types of people in the earth. I'll be right back in just a few minutes right here at COT. So ready to go. Okay. All right. We're ready. Everybody have sound? Everybody good to go? Great. Okay. Two types of people. But let's go back to the Old Testament. Let's speak simply together, shall we? You guys know in the Old Testament, there are lots of times that sacrifices were performed, right? Remember the instruction of the living God about sacrifice? Now, all of you are about to learn something. It's very simple. You ready? You ready? It's going to be very simple. You guys are vessels of love. God is love. So that means you know how to interpret things based in love. Continue to follow me. God commanded a sacrifice. Is that what he did? Let me explain something to you guys. God told them to sacrifice the best, the firstlings of their flocks, one without spot, one without a blemish. If you're not a vessel of love, you don't understand what that means. See, a lot of people for a long time says, well, God wants the best from you, right? Well, that's part of it. But that's not the basis of getting that one without spot, without a blemish. There's a reason it cannot have blemishes. There's a reason it cannot have spots. If you look back in the Old Testament, the simple story of David. he would risk his life for the flock, wouldn't he? Wouldn't he? Of course he would. When you have to sacrifice one of your firstlings, right, without spot, no blemishes, no defects, no anything, those herds were quite beloved, especially the young ones. What a lot of people don't understand when you're seeing this outside that perspective of love is when the little ones are born, they're taken care of by the shepherd. Like you would take care of a puppy, and you wouldn't allow anything to harm that puppy. Continue to follow me. That's why David took care of the flocks. Continue to follow me. When you take one of those little fellows, and you're told to sacrifice it, for what? And this is the hard part. When we have an infraction, when we sin, God's word is God's word. It's either we pay the price or something else does. In this case, God gave them an avenue that one could pay the price for all. It was not easy. Do you know that? It's not easy. They didn't just put the thing up there, slaughter the thing, and dance around and have a party. It's not what they did. It was difficult, almost impossible to do that. In fact, there were special people called to do that very thing because it was so difficult. It was not easy. And do you think God really wanted that? He already communicated to us he did not. But in order to satisfy the word of God, that man would know his own transgression and the cost involved, something had to take its place. Something had to take its place. So when we sinned, the wages of sin is death. A person sinned back then, it was going to kill someone. Now, if you knew that if you sinned, your favorite little animal was going to be killed, would you continue to sin? It'd make you approach life differently, wouldn't it? You would approach life very differently. Because you would realize that sin came at great cost. And if something had to take your place, or you were about to be wiped out, that makes the whole process heartbreaking. Maybe that's why God said. Now, I'm going to paraphrase that. It was heartless people who continued in their sin. Heartless. Heartless. People who didn't care if 1,000 had to die so long as they got their pleasure. They were heartless and cruel. That's what the Lord said. That's what the Lord said. Heartless and cruel. And when somebody is heartless and cruel like that, God said, don't have them in your company. Don't you have one of those heartless and cruel people around you who enjoy death and would have everybody die simply for their own entertainment. Part company with them. Those are known as wicked people. And regarding when it says a sweet savor came up, my goodness. Did the people not want to examine that phrase? God didn't enjoy the sacrifices. Do you know what that sweet savor? If you look back at the original language, you have to do this yourself. It is that it satisfied the condition. It's like a person saying, okay, it's done. It's done. It's completed. It has satisfied this condition. You don't say that as though you get hungry and want to eat the thing as steak. No. It is sweet because it satisfies the condition. We already know that was a burden of our Father. Sacrifice was a burden of our Father. Lord have mercy. Now, how much of these things are not even discussed? Now, hear me on this. Only those who are born in love can understand what I'm saying. If you operate by force, you cannot understand what I'm saying. God doesn't do anything by force. All things are by love. He does not want, nor did he didn't take pleasure in those things. That was written. He did not take pleasure in the demise of anyone. He's merciful. And regarding when he said to go wipe out this army and this people and that people, do you know what those people were? See, sometimes people talk about the giants and they talk about the Nephilim and they talk about the fallen angels, but they never examine the type of person that would even mate with a fallen angel. They never talked about what that person's mind was. Who was that person actually? Those are not holy people. That's why they became sirens. These were evil people, twisted people. Angels didn't sneak up on anybody holy and defile them that way. No. The women desired these things. And they put that desire above everything. When the children were born, these abominations, they had no placement anywhere. When their flesh died, their spirit roamed the earth. Their children, listen to me, the children that were produced from the fallen angels who are bound in chains and kept in store until the day of judgment, their children, when they died, their spirits would roam the earth. Where do you think reincarnation, that idea, came from? It came from the Nephilim. It came from the children of the fallen angels. So when they would die, their spirits would roam the earth. And when you have these tribes who have protected their bloodlines, they accommodate more spirits of the Nephilim. That process continues until this very day. These were third, fourth, and fifth generation Anakim, Nephilim. These were giants. Remember, Joshua said they're giants. They're giants. They were something you don't want to see. These were not normal people. They were abominations. They would consume people, other tribes, as well as animals. They were truly evil. Joshua was told to destroy them all. Somehow, they think that's God wanting Joshua to go out and just kill people. Those weren't people. Those were abominations. That's what they were. Abominations that were all over the place. And nothing was to be kept of them because they would taint every... You're looking at a being that can possess things. See, people, they know about possession. They know about demon manifestation. But the demons you're dealing with, God already named. You already told us we're going to be dealing with the spirits of that union that happened a long time ago. When you kill off an Nephilim, the spirit does not just evaporate. What did Jesus tell us about a spirit that's ejected from a human body? It'll go out and find nothing but dry places. Jesus did not say it goes to hell, so it doesn't go to hell. When a spirit comes out of a person, it will roam the earth looking for another vessel. See that? How many people miss that? So that means you have all these demons who they're not going to hell. No matter how much man wants them to go to hell, they're not going to hell. They're roaming the earth. They're looking for vessels to inhabit, and they cannot inhabit just anybody because of compatibility. They can't. That's why Jesus said that spirit's going to be driven out of a person and go out and find nothing but dry places. Those are incompatible places. Those are places a demon cannot inhabit. And it's going to come back to the place it was kicked out of to see if it could get back again. That's what Jesus said. Are you guys following me? Why didn't it go out of a person and go into somebody else? That's not what Jesus told us. He said when a spirit is cast out of a person, it's going to go out into the earth and find nothing but dry places. Places it cannot inhabit. It's going to be nothing for it. So it's going to come back to the vessel it was driven out of to see if it's swept clean. And he said if it's swept clean, that means nothing, no belief inhabiting that person, no new spirit given to that person. It's going to go out, listen, it's going to go out, not go to hell. It's going to go out and find 7 worse than it is. Do you guys understand that? If that same spirit can go out and find others worse than it is, then the earth is full of those spirits just waiting to inhabit someone. Is anybody thinking about that? They're not going to hell. They're roaming the earth. And it was told to us that we would contend with them until Christ returned. Those demons are afraid of him because he is the warden, he is their jailer, he is their judge. So that means you have a countless number of those things all throughout the earth waiting to inhabit a person. And when one person dies who was taken over by these things, it just simply goes out and becomes one of those roaming the earth. You hear me? My goodness. Imagine those things in real life before they ever died, living about 500 years. Imagine how ruthless they would have been. Now, Goliath was of the tribes of the Anakim. He was. So imagine a bunch of Goliaths out there that would mock God and do everything. Devour human flesh, pigs, whatever they wanted to devour, they would devour. Abominations walking the earth. Imagine a bunch of them walking the earth. Imagine armies of them. Goliath had a history of dismantling a lot of people all at one time. That's what Goliath, and all those, he was of a third generation of those that Joshua had to contend with. Or one of the generations of those Joshua had to contend with. Just think of that. You guys know exactly. You know for a fact, you've seen the evidence of the Nephilim. All of you know about the evidence of the Nephilim. You're taught about the evidence of the Nephilim when you were children. Yes, that is disputable. But yes, I had to bring that up. Because if it's one thing every child on this earth learns about when they're little, are dinosaurs. If they tell you, oh, these were just giant lizards, that's what they tell you. Every child is introduced to dinosaurs. Of all the stuff that could have survived, we find dinosaur bones. I was just like any other person. Before a certain time in my life when I thought dinosaurs were just dinosaurs. And I had a few briefings and some other things, and so I have no choice but to reject the notion that half these people are putting out. They're very passionate about what they defend, and so be it, because they know the only half they know. If Satan hides facts from people, he can change your narrative in a heartbeat. He deceives people by showing them half of a truth. He's done this since the beginning. He never shares the whole truth. Never. And men are so prideful that when they have labored to establish something, they're not going to so easily give it up. Do you hear me? When men labor to establish something, they're not going to give it up. See, because it isn't God who told man those were dinosaurs. It is man who told man those were dinosaurs. It is man who classified these dinosaurs. And then they protect those they respect before them, and they carry and build upon that knowledge. Knowledge taught by mankind. That's man's wisdom, classifying all these things. That comes from mankind. That's where it comes from. So, in essence, people are believing a bunch of facts that derived from men. And men teach men. You do that about 5 or 6 generations, it becomes fact, it becomes law in the minds of those who have no choice but to learn from textbooks, from other men. This is nothing more than wisdom passed down. The wisdom of man is but foolishness to God, passed down from generation to generation. It is incomplete. Yet you're taught to reinforce that it is complete, that it is the truthful narrative, and you're also taught to scoff anybody who would go against it. It's true. Personally, I think the evidence is all around you, but they won't show you things like the 80-ton hatchet. Who has a sword? A knife. Who has a knife that's 2 tons? Who? They know very well what they cataloged with satellites. They did not want the average scientist to have LiDAR either, because that's how they used to identify things below the foliage. We're not talking about looking for buildings or pyramids. No. We're talking about something else. The unbelievable things. But again, people are taught by other men. Let's go ahead and face it. We have knowledge from other people. It didn't come from a divine source. It came from people. And people defend their favorite people. You ever have somebody quote an author's book and say, oh, so-and-so said this. Okay, but what did God say? We know so-and-so said it. So what? What did God say? That becomes offensive to people, doesn't it? And it's not that everything that people have all the knowledge they accumulated is a lie. But I'll tell you this. When they find big bones and they come up with some plausible past, I'm not going to swallow that. I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. I did that once. I'm not going to do it again. And then when you have knowledge that contradicts that from official places, then you have no choice. So there are certain things I will never agree with because I've seen a different side of it. I've been behind the fence. It's not good to see hidden things. It's not good to see hidden things. It messes up your innocence. I was stress-free once. I was. I look around now and all I see is a bunch of stuff based upon a bunch of lies. That's not living life. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine learning the truth about many things you look around and see, and yet you see the populace operating under the guise of a lie? built upon a lie, built upon a lie. If in the foundation a lie does exist, then everything else is based on top of a lie. So everything else is almost useless because the root of it is a lie. That's how Satan operates. It's kind of like Jesus. Jesus never sent a demon to hell. Never. Have you guys ever read about an apostle sending a demon to hell? I never read that. So where'd that come from? Where did that come from? And why is it not working? And why are people convinced that demons can somehow walk in and out of hell at their own will? What knowledge is that? Because if you hear somebody say, go back to the pits of hell, then that means that demon escaped. And if it escaped, then God's work is flawed. And if God's work is flawed, then what are we doing? I don't subscribe to any of that. Most people are through scare tactics. You're pushed in a corner. It's like voodoo. It's like somebody walking underneath a ladder. It's like crossing a path of a black cat. We got to be careful of our foundations, don't we? We got to make sure that our foundations do not incorporate the fantasies of mankind and man's invented witchcraft, but that our foundations are pure, based on the Word of God. All of us have to be careful of that. You guys have to remind me, and so I'm reminding you. All of us have to watch each other's back, so to speak, in that respect. Because if not, we'll fall right back. You know what the Word says? That in the last days, men will no longer endure sound doctrine. Now, if I were just to stop right there, that's enough. What do you mean? That means to no longer endure it is to no longer keep it. That means they're not going to continue to believe sound doctrine. The Bible also says they're going to turn back to fables. They're going to believe man's lies. They're much more interesting. It's far more interesting to believe the story of, a demon inching out of hell coming onto the surface of the earth. That makes for a better movie or story. Then to find out a bunch of them have been roaming the earth since the time of their daddies, since the time of the great flood, right? Because then you say, well, wait a minute. If all of them have been roaming the earth and everybody's not taken over, then they don't have all the power that people think they do. That's right. Oh, and then they haven't gotten to me, which means I must be protected for some reason. That's right. That's absolutely right. That means grace is real. That means mercy is real. That means the hand of God is real. And the scare tactics don't work. But if you believe they go from hell, then somebody can control you. If you believe they somehow can come out of hell to come target you, then somebody can control you through fear. God didn't give us the spirit of fear, so he'll do nothing through the guise of fear. Everything our Father does is by love, through the ways of freedom. Everything he does nothing by fear. It is man who invents these ways of fear from man's master, Satan himself. Because it's scary to think. I know people have said this to themselves. I've heard them say it. Well, what if that thing comes over and messes up my family? Oh no, I'm going to listen to so-and-so, and so-and-so says, never put your toothbrush in the toothbrush holder past 11:30 p.m. or one of those things are going to come into the front door. It sounds silly, but that's how people operate. Through fear, they adjust their lives, and then they begin to live by fear, and then everything they do and everything they have positioned, they have done so by fear, not by truth, not by the word of God, but by fear. They will do or not do based on fear. Just give that thought. All you have to do, if you can, people, please, if you can hear me, by fear, you're taught to live your life. If you can understand that, then understand this. Your Father did not give you the spirit of fear. You are not to live your life that way. Look at your life and see and begin to discover how many things that you do that are initialized by fear. Out of fear, you adjust things in your life. Out of fear, you will go down certain paths in life and not others. All of it by fear. Just give it thought. You're not to live your life that way. That is not freedom. That is bondage. That's bondage. And I'm telling you that fear dominates. For the lie exists. And God did not give us the spirit of fear. He didn't. You're not sober when you live your life by fear. And it's time to break the chains. It's time to break the chains. I'll be back in just a few minutes right here at the Council of Time. I'm confident somebody has a question. Oh, I'm gonna provoke a question. Is that okay, everybody? I'm gonna provoke one. Since we're talking about fear briefly, with the spirit of fear. So, Mike, does that mean that a person no longer has fear of consequences in society? Right? Because people don't rob banks because of the fear of consequences, right? Fair question, correct? Isn't that correct, guys? Isn't that correct? Isn't that what a person would say? They say, well, you have to have fear in society. Fear of consequences. It keeps the young in line. It keeps criminals in line, right? Potential criminals. It's the reason we did not do some of the bad stuff we did. That's how you begin. When all you know are man's ways. That's how you begin. That is not how you continue. It's not how you continue. Why not? A person will live their life with the addition of those that fear of consequence. They'll live their life like that in the beginning. But when they grow, they no longer avoid things because of consequences. But they walk by truth no matter the consequences. And that's why the apostles were locked up. Do you see that? Do you see it? That's exactly why the apostles were locked up. You begin that way, but as you grow, you begin to walk by truth. You're not living your life to avoid consequences. You're walking in truth no matter what the consequences are. Do you see that? That's why the apostles were killed, locked up. All sorts of things happened. People to this day are killed for the word of God. They're not walking by fear of consequence. It's not what they're doing. Now, somebody had a question, right? Somebody's been doing they were trying to dig. They were doing where's that question at in Judges? I'm not going to skip that. Somebody said, let me go back. Where's it at? Somebody said Judges 11, 29, and 39. Let's go find it. And the question was, the person said, Mike, why did God allow sacrifice in Judges 11? Let's go find out. And we have the premise. Hopefully you caught the first half. right? And I'll say it again. If you're a vessel of love, you can hear what I'm saying. But if you're not a vessel of love, you'll never get it, no matter how hard you try. Judges 11:29. Then the Spirit of the Lord came upon Japath, and he passed over Gilead, and Manasseh passed over Mespeth and Gilead, and Meziph of Gilead he passed over until the children of Ammon. And Japath vowed unto the Lord and said, if thou shalt without fail deliver the children of Ammon into mine hands. Wait a minute, that was 29. Did this person say 29? That's Judges 11:29. I think I know what they're getting at, but that certainly wasn't it, was it? Then we go on. Then it shall be that whosoever commit the fourth of the doors of my house to me when I return in peace, and children of Ammon shall surely be the Lord's, and I will offer it up as a burnt offering. Hear that? He said, this is not the Lord talking. Listen, I want you guys to understand something. He said he will offer it up as the Lord, offer it up as the Lord offering came from a human being. The Lord is not saying. The person is saying. This is something you have to separate. You have to really know in the Old Testament. There are things that men say and women say, and there are things God said. That's what you'll see, right? You follow the words of God, not the words of men, because there are other parts in the Bible where men have said things you surely better not do, right? Remember, this is a narrative foretelling of a circumstance, and it's bringing out the details. So Japath passed over unto the children of Ammon to fight against him, and the Lord delivered them into his hands, and he smote them from Aurora, even till thou come to Minnith, even 20 cities, even unto the plain of the vineyards, with a very great slaughter. Thus the children of Ammon were subdued before the children of Israel. And Japath came to Mizpah unto the house, and behold, his daughter came out to meet him with timbrels and dances, and she was his only child. Beside her he had neither son nor daughter. And it came to pass, when he saw her, that he rent his clothes, and he said, Alas, my daughter, thou hast bought me very low, and thou art one of them that trouble me. For I have opened my mouth unto the Lord, and I cannot go back. And she said unto him, My father, if thou hast opened thy mouth unto the Lord, do to me according to that which hath proceeded out of your mouth, for as much as the Lord hath taken vengeance for thee of thine enemies, even the children of Ammon. And she said unto her father, Let this thing be done for me. Let me alone for 2 months. Let me alone 2 months, that I may go up and down, up on the mountains, and bewail my virginity, and I my fellows. And he said, Go, and sent her away for 2 months, and she went with her companions to bewail her virginity upon the mountains. And it came to pass that at the end of the 2 months she returned unto her father, who did with her according to his vow which he had vowed, and she knew no man. And it was a custom in Israel that the daughters of Israel went yearly to lament the daughter of Japath in Gilead 4 days in a year. Again, this is a vow that was made. Do you guys see that? It's a vow that was a human made, and a vow you certainly couldn't go back on. That's very simple. That was a human declaration. Right? Not God's declaration. That was a human declaration. But God said, make no vow, didn't he? He said he will surely hold us of those vows, those oaths that we take. And then he said, don't make any oath. Didn't the Lord say, don't make an oath? Didn't he say that? And so you have a person making an oath or a vow. Right? This happens all throughout the Word of God, doesn't it? A person will make a vow, and then they're bound by that vow. In fact, if you look back in the Bible and you find out who said what to who, you're going to find, right, that man has offered things as a promise unto the Lord, and then they were bound to keep it. See that? At any rate, There's some other instances that are a whole lot better than that one, which give you a clear insight into the rejection. That's why God said, I do not accept your burnt offerings. That's what the Lord said. Let me tell you why the Lord said he didn't accept their burnt offerings. Have you guys ever read Malachi? Have you guys ever read Malachi? All right. Have you really looked into Malachi? Have you really looked into Haggai? God said he didn't accept that from them. He didn't accept their offerings. He didn't accept that. But why? Why didn't he accept it? Why didn't he? I'll tell you why. They started to do things as some sort of a pattern. When they would sacrifice, they did it to satisfy the condition. And the entire meaning of the sacrifice was lost. They became heartless in their sacrifices. They became cruel in their sacrifices. And God said, I'm not accepting anything from you all. Why do you think they were blind and they could not see Christ? Jesus said they were spiritually dead. They got so used to following the rules, they did it without a heart. They said, because it's written, it is required. And they did it in a heartless fashion. Jesus made that clear. God made that clear. He said, you are presenting me as cruel and all these different things, and I am to be known as a merciful God. He said they were misrepresenting him. God does nothing by force. Lord have mercy. To sacrifice something is to, when they had an offering, a burnt offering, a blood offering, whatever the case was, they had to give up something that was connected to the heart. That's why David fought so vigorously for his herd, for those sheep. He would lay down his life for that flock. Why? Just like you love your animals. The same reason you care for those little tiny puppies and kittens and whatever else you have. The same reason some of you stay awake at night to protect those little bitty creatures from predators. The same reason people go back into a burning house or a flooding house to extract the animal. And then those people with that same heart, those were the types of people who loved their animals, who would make those sacrifices in pain. That's giving up everything for sin. That's a big price to pay for sin. It was not done in some heartless, useless fashion. That would accomplish nothing. But then that's precisely what they started doing. They did it as a ritual, and that's why they agreed and began to do that practice of Moloch and Baal. Because God said he didn't instruct them to go burn their children, yet that's what they were doing. They became heartless. Like some people go to church on Sunday because it's a routine, and they force everybody in the house to go whether they want to or not. Right? But then you have some people who encourage the truth of going to church. And then with great joy, the family goes to church. With great joy. It may sound new to some of you, but I'm one of those who would encourage the children with the truth to what church really was. And they became enthusiastic. So enthusiastic, they would remind you Friday and Saturday that church was coming. How about that? Not forcing them to go, but speaking truth to them. Now, we have all that. We have all that. Having said all that, that's just a little piece of what we're going to go deeper into. next week, okay? Because we need scripture, right? And there are tons of scripture. We need scripture to go through each element of this so that people can finally see it. Because I'll say it again, there is a religion out there that thinks that the God of the Old Testament is Lucifer. And they're the ones that think God enjoyed the sacrifices. They're the ones who believe that God was bloodthirsty, this, that, and the other. They are the ones who believe that. Okay? Who or what is coming, you'll see it. You'll know it when it comes in December. You'll know it. You already know it now. You just have not identified it. Mike, can you talk about the 12 tribes and how they might be spiritual archetypes? And if there's a lost tribe, well, that's a different conversation. Today we're talking about the two types of people. But I needed to make a point of this belief system, this Gnostic belief system, that somehow the God of the Old Testament was bloodthirsty and was cruel and violent and all these different things that so many are starting to believe. Okay? Christians are beginning to believe this, and don't think it's something slight, because you have the majority of Christians who believe a lot of what's in that religion. You have a lot. I mean, when I say a lot, I mean a lot. I mean a whole lot. Okay, a whole lot. A bunch. And we all know these are the days when people fall away. Somebody said, you said recognize humanity. What do you mean by that? How do you recognize humanity? By love. That's how you recognize humanity. You don't look at another person, right, in any other way than with eyes of love. You have to see humanity as God sees humanity. How does God see us? He looked upon us with eyes and a heart of love. Didn't he? His judgment is coming, reserved for a specific time. But he commanded his love towards us. For God so loved the world. If we are his children, shouldn't we be like the Father too? The Father looked upon humanity with the eyes of love. Jesus looked upon humanity with the eyes of love. If we are in fact his children, are not the children like the parent? Yes. Recognize humanity is to look upon them with the eyes of love, not to see them as assets. Not to see them as, I used to hear people, before they invited another family member in the house, they would have a discussion, and that discussion would include, well, I don't want that person here. They can't do anything for me. Really? So you would only invite somebody in your home if they would benefit you? That's not seeing humanity. That's not it. All right. How about inviting somebody in the home so you can do something for them? Who's willing to take on the burden of love itself? It's a good burden. It's a heaviness that's enjoyable to experience. But it requires sacrifice. And as we continue to go on in this world, less and less people are willing to sacrifice for others. As the Bible says, the love of many is waxing colder and colder because iniquity abounds. Less and less people operate by love. That's why in the New Testament, near the end, there's only a remnant talked about. Not the whole, but a remnant. A remnant. Now, you guys know the story about the wheat and the tares, right? You already know that. You already know that. So let me clarify something. So you have the book of Jude, which is a very important section. It is a very important statement in there that I believe is that same statement is found 322, it's either 22 or 28 places. 328 places, I'm going to say, in the Bible, of a theme of people who are here on this earth that will never step foot in the kingdom They're here to trip you up. They are vessels of the devil himself, and they're in the flesh just like you. They're raised just like you on this earth. That means they're human beings. Human beings. Now, is this the actual wheat and the tares? Here's what I believe about the wheat and the tares, and I draw a distinction on this for the first time. I'm going to lay something out for you, okay? We know the story about the wheat and the tares, how that God sowed seed, and then the enemy came back and sowed tares among the seeds, right? We know that, right? We know that God said, do not, pull out the weeds, let them grow together. And during the harvest, to separate all the weeds are going to be gathered together into one place and burned, right? So that only the wheat is left. The wheat's going to be gathered, placed into the barn. So we know that story. The seeds sown among the righteous are the many ideologies, the counter-religions, all the different things that can cause you to err in your process of growth. So a tare is not necessarily a person. A tare can be a system. A tare can be a philosophy. A tare can be an ideology, right? You guys seen this? A tare can be a person, an ideology, a system. It could be any of those things that cause you to step right into error. So it's not necessarily a person. Because at the end, all the tares are going to be gathered together and burned. And indeed, the beast and all those who dwell in the beast system, that whole thing is going to be cast into darkness. And then all those people who were subservient to the beast will be cast into the lake of fire. Right? So that's what I believe about the tares. The tares it is all the seeds sown by Satan. All the seeds. That includes philosophies. That includes ideologies. That includes people. That includes anything that Satan can corrupt to get to you. That's what I believe those seeds are. Now, the two different types of people in this earth, I believe that's a total different thing. Because you're looking at a person who they don't want redemption. They never had an inheritance of the kingdom of God. And the book of Jude shines a light on them. That they are among you in your places of worship. They are among you. That's where they're found. They're found in places just like this. Wherever Christians are, they're going to be found. And in the book of Jude, it says they are before of old ordained to be ungodly men. Before of old means the beginning. From the beginning, they are ordained, destined to become ungodly men. As a person who has no promise of redemption. Somebody says, Brother Michael, could they be family? Yes, they could. Yes, they absolutely, a lot of them are. Just because a person gives birth to a child, they don't dictate what that child is. God does that. He has his reasons for everything he does, but listen to me. There are lots of children born outside of God's way of having a child. Isn't that right? Isn't that right? So it is with society today, it is truly God's grace and mercy that a child would be born and truly be blessed. I'm going to make something very simple. Now, the world can say it's nothing, but your Father says it's everything. There are children born out of wedlock. There's no devotion between the two people. There's no joining in the eyes of the Lord, a real joining. People are joining on the surface, and they're using paperwork to prove it for the sake of advantage. That's not God joining two people together. That's two people signing a contract for the sake of mutual lust. Because what God has joined together, no man can put asunder. Nothing has power to separate. But if anybody joins themselves together by way of lust and all these other reasons, God, you think God played a role in that? No, I don't think so. And then you have children born, and you don't know if the two parents pray or not. So it is by God's grace and God's mercy that all believers are who they are. But just think of how curses can enter in. So you got to do, think of how curses can enter in based on the Word of God. Wickedness can beget wickedness. Now we can say it's slight all day. Nobody, because most people in this day and age, a lot of people are not married. The institution of marriage has been utterly almost done away with. People don't see it necessary. It's not a mandate in the lands that people live in either. It's just not a mandate. So anything can be born in a lustful moment. When two people are together but they're joined in the eyes of the Lord, right? That is sanctioned by the Lord. It is blessed. When a child comes forth, that is a blessing. But if you get two people outside, when they're out of wedlock, anything can potentially come through those acts of disobedience and that act of sin by way of lust. Let's go ahead and face it. Let's face the truth. Many of these relationships, people get together based on lust. It's not based on love. It's based on lust. Truth be told. Truth be told. So you have a lot of kids born that way. That's why this world needs prayer, prayer, prayer. Because everything is being kept by God's grace and mercy. But we already know that, but just think of the potential. Because somebody asked, could one of these people be family? Yes, they absolutely could. But I'll give you this piece of consolation. This is why you have the elite who reserve their own bloodlines. And let me tell you the story behind that. The true elite families, right? They have been collecting DNA. They have been working with doctors and everything else from the beginning to preserve their family names. Why? To keep their bloodline adaptive to the spirits that will inhabit them. This is what you may not know. They have a desire for those spirits to inhabit their children. And let me tell you why. Suppose you knew one of these people who were quite smart. They knew all about the systems. They knew how these systems function, how they operate, and they're favored and they're rich. You don't want to lose that through just anybody, right? So you want to perpetuate your own existence, and you want your family to stay within the confines of your beliefs. So if you come from one of these bloodlines, you're going to make sure that bloodline stays within the family, thus ensuring the same spirits in operation that built all of that in the first place will continue on. Right? So then you have these wicked people who have gained the whole world and truly lost their soul. Right? They purposely have kids in sin. That's why you have a lot of them that will have a child from their sister. They'll have a child from their own mother, something like that, to produce a child adapted for one of these spirits so that the spirit can always inhabit the child. They even have ceremonies of duality. It's where a person is raised up to operate with a demon in them, so they can harness or allow that demon to come forward to do the important things. Some of the concerts that people watch, they're watching a demon entertain them, and then when the concert is over, the person is restored. But what was entertaining the people was a demon doing unbelievable things. Some of the smart people that are in this world, when they're doing specific things, a demon is taking over. And the demon's at work. Why do you think some of these people that do things that are famous in the world, and they have done these incredible things. They seem to be one person one day and a different person the next. People know them differently. They know one of two people. They're never like 5 or 6. They're always one or two people. And they'll always tell you, the people that work for these people like that, they'll say, well, you must have met the calm so-and-so, not the work so-and-so, because the work so-and-so would never say that. Now, they're talking about the same person. So it'd be like somebody saying, well, the talking Mike would never say that. But the calm Mike would always says that. It is just like that. It becomes normal to these people. Normal. And you'll often hear phrases like, well, when they're performing, they're going to be that way because that's who they are. But after the performance, then the other one comes forward and everything's normal again. You hear them talk like that every single day, like it's no big deal. Skull and bones. Those initiates, do you know what they're doing? They prepare themselves. These are outsiders. Listen, these are outsiders who join an organization. They go through a bunch of rituals to prove their worthiness. They're proving themselves that they're going to stay loyal to certain families should they ever be inhabited by one of those family demons. They don't want someone to get a demonic entity in them and then that person run off and do their own thing. So they have these rituals that they go through where a person will literally bind themselves to that specific family, and they're bound by blood and they're bound by death, so they'll never leave it. And then they go forward with the other rituals that promises them cohabitation with the spirit. That's how that works. That's what you're saying operate in the world. See, me, I don't trust what they say on television. I do not trust their statements or anything else, because behind the scenes, you hardly know what's happening. The average person does not know what's happening. But I can tell you this. I can tell you this with absolute certainty. You only go so far by yourself. These other families, they govern everything above a certain level, and you're not going up any further until you become either friends of the family, until you bear that family's name, until you have the mark of that family. You're not going to go up another step. Now, having said that, I'll tell you something else. When people start talking about the mark of the beast, there are so many who have already been marked. The only way to go up on the financial ladder to a certain degree in this world is to take an oath with him, a blood oath with him. So when a person is talking to you, say you met one of these people, they could talk to you. And they could tell you, no, I'm innocent of all that stuff. And indeed, they'd be telling the truth. But when the demon takes over and it starts doing other things, that demon said, I invented the whole thing. That's how they operate. That's how they operate. So I'm not fooled by any of that. People always find out the hard way. They do. And the folks who double-cross them, they don't last long. They just don't last long. They don't last long. There have been a couple who have weaved in and out. They don't last long. See, can any of those people be saved? Yes, they can. But listen to me. When a person has gone up on that ladder, and they have the other folks' money, do you really think they're going to allow that person to continue to keep their status and everything else? No. But if a person is saved, they can't be touched. Listen to me, they'll work very hard to corrupt that person. They're going to work very hard to corrupt that person. Their only desire at that point is to humiliate and to kill that person. That's what they want. That's what they'll do. To be redeemed is to escape them. To escape them is to have them follow you for the rest of your life, waiting for you to either give up, to go back into any sinful moment, to start not believing, and that person's end condition will be far worse than anything they have ever experienced. Lot's wife, she turned back, turned into a pillar of salt. That's exactly what happens. In other words, once you escape darkness, darkness will pursue you for the rest of your life. And if you ever give up, if you ever give in, if you ever get so tired you quit, darkness is going to shred you to pieces. That's what it's waiting for. That's why I encourage people to continue to fight the good fight of faith. Don't give in to that statement that you're tired. Anybody who works is going to get tired, but you stand up with whatever you have left. And with all of what you are, you go forward in the name of the Lord and in truth, accepting no lie. Go forward in the Lord's truth. Build yourselves up in God's truth. You build yourselves up, but never turn around. Take note that darkness will never embrace you again, and things will never be easy again. Your end condition, if you turn around, is going to be far worse than anything you ever thought was imaginable. The Lord gave the exact same warning. So if you're a sinner saved by grace, you will never be embraced by darkness. You will be slowly devoured by an evil darkness. It has no use for you. It will torment you till the day of your eternal torment. So continue walking forward. Pursue the Lord with all of what you are, but realize you have parted from darkness, and darkness is your true enemy. It will never make friends with you again, though it will constantly attempt to get you to turn around or give up. Don't give up. You've come too far now. You're almost there. Don't give up. Don't give up. I'll be right back in just a few minutes right here at COT, everybody. All right, guys. Now, I'm still going, by the way. I know what time it is, too. I know. Anybody that has to go, it's okay. I'm going to ask you guys something. How many of you, that's going to seem like a simple question, but how many people want to be pleasing unto the Lord? How many want to be pleasing? I'd say all of you would like to be pleasing, right? I'd say all of you. All of you. Are you guys, is Mixler out? It is, isn't it? Hold on. Let me fix. I'm not, let me fix. Let me see. There we go. It boy is struggling. Mixler is struggling. Come on, don't struggle so much. You are off the air thing, it says. Boy, they don't like progress, do they? Shame on them. Shame on them. Shame shame. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Let me do this. I know what's happening here. I already know what's happening. I know what's happening. Terminate all processes here. We're being fought. We're being fought. Somebody jump in Mixler. Somebody jump in Mixler and tell them that we're going to be back and we're getting that up again. I'm going to keep everything on air, though. I'm going to keep everything on air. There we go. Wait a minute. Let's see. I'm going to bring it back. That's a shame. That's a shameful thing. You guys should be ashamed of yourselves. Let me do this. Okay. Let's terminate it. Didn't want to cooperate here now, does it? Well, boy, that totally went down, didn't it? Everybody stand by, okay? Can everybody do that? Just stand by. Just a minute. Just a minute. We're going to rebuild something here real quick. I'm going to rebuild this process. It's like really trying to get through some of these processes, and I can't do it. Are you serious? Okay, nope. Nope. We're going to put nope. We want that gone. We want that out. Permanently out. Out. We want to discard. There we go. And to recording. No, we don't do that. We're going to give that a few minutes for everybody to catch up. Just force-fed the value system. That will get it. That'll get it. All right, guys, Mixler is starting back up again. You guys should get the invite. I just, now, Mixler is running on a computer that is currently under assault. It really is. It's under assault. That's just nuts. That's nuts. Can you guys see, you see all the people trying to sign into Mixler all at the same time? Do you guys see that? You guys see that? I'm sitting here looking at the, when you have the software for Mixler, you can see who's trying to, how many people are showing up. So it's like big chunks of 300-400 people at a time trying to show up, and then they can't handle that. So it's like everybody's trying to log right into, everybody's trying to go into Mixler for some reason. They're just trying to be evil. They're being evil. They are. They're being evil. You guys ever in Mixler? Mixler is now operational. Somebody says, is crypto created by a demonic system? Let me answer that for you. The earth, the entire earth, and everything, all these systems in the earth, right? All of them are under the prince of the air, who is Satan. So the king of this world, his name is Lucifer. The prince, right? That's why Jesus said, now the prince of this world is cast out. He's cast out. So we see, he has inspired all this stuff in the world. He has. See, not all of it. Not all of it. But when it comes to our money system, why, God wouldn't invent a system of greed. He wouldn't do that. He would not do that. And so we know where that comes from. Crypto is just another system that was invented by people who are of the earth. That's all. We're of the earth. That's it. That's it. So it says DOS attack. Well, they were attacking Mixler, is what they were doing. They were attacking our Mixler specifically. COT's Mixler and some other Mixlers out there, no doubt. They were trying to take down Mixler, and then they attacked the hub of Mixler itself. That's what they were doing. That's what they're trying to do. Gotta kill it off. Well, that's not working. Not working at all. Let's check our other streams here. I don't do this all the time because I don't like, you guys know I don't like numbers. Every time I say anything about the numbers, it just, I don't know, it creates a competitiveness I don't like. I'm going to just check on mainstream. Okay. It looks okay. So we're pretty clear on that. Let's pull up, I got to pull up all 5 here. Let's see. The way this works is like, for example, channel 6. Channel 6 is actually a selection of up to 28 different streams. And so you get it tries to connect you with the smoothest stream out there. Each stream will house anywhere from 200 to 2,000 people, right? Or one of them has 3,500. Yeah, one of the streams has 3,500. This is what I'm going to get the mods to actually manage this so they can get stats for people when they need it. Anyway, that's the way that works. Channel 0 is a separate stream. It's broken down into 12 streams. And when you flip on channel 0, you get one of 12 streams transmitting from different locations, right? So all of them are like that. So each stream has multiple streams underneath, which means the mods will monitor about, I'd say about, 122 streams they'll monitor, right? Each stream holds about 2 to 2,000 people apiece. Mixler, on the other hand, is just all lumped in together. And so people try to log into Mixler, and once it reaches a certain amount, it won't accept anybody else. That's just the way that works. The COT streams are split into multiple streams, right? Now, the one in Europe and the one in Asia, they're always, there's one specific one in Europe that's always full. I mean, it's always full. And there's one in Africa that's always full. I mean, always full. It's forever full. But there's some who have as little as 241. I think one of the channel 6 is the default channel 6 only has 242, so it has room for a lot of folks to be on there, right? Lots of folks. And from there, you get put into different categories. So that's what we're going to get the mods to look after that to make sure everything is okay. They will have remote access to fine-tune things. They'll do that. That takes work with with some of the maintainers of these streams, but best way to do it, we have a lot of redundancy. Lots of redundancy. It's built in, so they should have no problem. The biggest issue is Mixler. Mixler is just, it's ran by, I guess they do their best based upon the people they have, but sometimes we get a request for up to, if you get a big request on Mixler, they just simply can't fulfill it. We have our stream down to a lot, right? Even the actual numbers reports of unique listeners, when we get that report back, it is like 4 times of what the number you see people logged in. So I don't think that's too accurate. And I don't know, that's their code, not ours. So I don't know. But the other channels work okay. Anyway, we have a lot of people who will stream Mixler, or they stream out to other folks, right? So people may know their websites, they don't know our website, and they will stream to multiple people. So it really goes out there to quite a few people. It really does. Okay, back to what we were talking about. So many people want to be pleasing unto the Lord, right? I mean, I know I do, right? So I would say that you guys do also. So I'm going to ask you another question. You want to be pleasing unto the Lord, right? Correct? How many of you accept where God has placed you right now? How many? Of those who want to be pleasing unto the Lord, How many people accept where God has placed you right now? Many. I'd say quite a bit, right? I know I do too. I fully accept where God has placed me, right? Even when it's even when it's tough, I accept where God has placed me, right? So let me ask you this. You want to be pleasing unto the Lord, you accept where God has placed you. So why do people say I don't belong here? Anybody answer that? Why would anybody say that? I don't belong here. If we want to be pleasing unto the Lord, and we do in fact accept where He has placed us, then why would we ever say we don't belong here? Why would we ever say that if you're where God put you right there where you're supposed to be? In fact, you were made to be put exactly where you are. You belong exactly where you are. So why would anybody say that? I'll tell you why. It's not that you're making a snub remark at the Most High. We're not doing that. You know what the issue is? It really gives us insight into how we operate, right? We do walk by faith when we remember to walk by faith. But the default is to walk by the rudiments of this world. And this is what we must overcome. To say you don't belong here is to say God made a mistake. To say you don't belong here is to say God put you accidentally in a place you're not supposed to be in. You were made, put in a human body, put here on this earth. Right? There's a long process that took place for you to get here. You're supposed to be right there where you are. But what makes us say we don't belong here? I'll tell you what's making us say that are other voices out there. That's not an original statement. That's a derived statement that came from others. You see that? Somebody says it's selfishness. Well, not too much. It's just that in the absence of spiritual knowledge, we go back to our default. And our default is the understanding of those things in this world. You were born in this world. You really weren't born you weren't born as a priest. Let's put it that way. You were raised up in this world, right? The world rejects its own creator. And so many of the things that we know are from the world. When life becomes difficult, hard, depressing, or something like that, we default back on what we have rehearsed the most. So here's my request. I ask you those questions to give you a request. Never say that. Begin to reverse that. And instead of saying, because in the Bible it says you're in this world, but you're not of this world. But to say that you don't belong here is to say that God is senile. How many of you would say that? Father, the Most High, made no mistake by putting you in the place He put you in. You may not like where you are. That's because you don't understand who you are yet. If you're in a bad place, then you're a strong vessel. God would not put a weak vessel in a bad place. He puts a strong vessel in a bad place. That means you're able to take whatever it is. In fact, you've been able to take everything that ever happened in your life. That means you're pretty strong. And those of you who have gone through a lot, whether it be self-inflicted or not, you're a person of strength. Don't let the adversary, don't let Satan dupe you into believing that somehow you're a vessel of weakness because you've been put in a tough place. If you're in a tough place, then indeed you're a special soul and you're a person of strength. Time for you to begin to realize that your strength is intimately tied to your faith. By faith, you can change everything. By faith, you can. By faith. Remember that. So you're not, you're not, a lot of people say, well, I don't belong here. Yes, you do, or you wouldn't be here. Or yes, you do belong here, or you wouldn't be here. If Satan can make a person believe that they don't belong here, you will not fulfill what you've been sent here to fulfill. All right? So don't program your mind any further with that statement. Don't do that. Instead, accept what the Lord has bestowed upon you. See, many of us want to be pleasing, but how can we be pleasing if we reject what the Lord has placed upon us? Accept what he has placed upon you and stand to your feet, knowing that you go forward with help. The Lord is your help. He is your strength. You're not by yourself, or you would have been killed from the beginning. You're here to destroy the works of the devil. And for some of you, God put you right in the middle of the works of the devil. Right in the middle. That's where God placed you. You're put right in the middle of that. Are you guys having an issue? You guys having sound issues? Let's check something here. Last time this happened, you guys wouldn't believe the hacking event that took place. And it came from one country in particular. So I'm going to check something real quick. Let me check something real quick. Let's check out something. Oh, boy. Yeah. Loading. Oh, my. Are you serious? Are you guys serious? Okay, here it is. You guys ready? Here it is. Here's what's happening. In the USA, we have scan attempts happening. In Canada and the USA, beyond belief. The numbers are beyond belief. The numbers are beyond belief. Really? We're the number one attacked today. The numbers are just growing. That's 179 trillion. It's a big number. It's 3,702 trillion attempts per second. That's crazy. So we do have a continued assaults upon every system you can possibly imagine being scanned right now, and this is just ridiculous. You know what? I look at this and analyze this, and it gets worse every single month. It gets worse. Let me take a snapshot because I can't log into this too much. Not too many times. I'll never be able to justify it too many times. But this is crazy. Let's go on the civilian map. Let's see what you guys are reporting as civilians. Let's see. On the civilian map, it says it's still active, isn't it? And it's very active. ECP flood attack, network attacks at 96%. Access violations, 54%. It's pretty high. That's pretty high. And of all of that, the USA is the highest hit. Brazil, second hit. Then, of course, the UK is third. France is fourth. And Finland is fifth. Something in it. Last hours. The numbers are ridiculous for the month so far. And this is a live map too. So there we are with that. Salt. Well, if you guys are having connectivity issues, this is probably why. It's more likely why. There's a lot of traffic on the internet right now. A lot of that, there's scan attempts. People are attempting to scan what's happening. Right now they're doing this. So you could say, and this is expected prior to Trump, or prior to Putin coming to U.S. territory, right? It really is expected. It's expected. Yeah, slowing down everything. Anyway. Somebody says Jesus Christ is coming soon. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. The question is, listen, Jesus Christ is coming. Yes, he is. But how will we be received? I think about that a lot. I do. Have I finished what the Lord has given me to finish? By the Lord's standard. How does he see me right now? Am I truly ready to be received, or am I just deceiving myself? I think about that every day. And so I want to complete what the Lord has sent me here to complete. In doing that, you begin to recognize some things, situations and people and things that want to slow you down or put us down. And in our case, like COT, there's so many people who want to put a stop to COT. It's not even funny. I thank God for those. It's about 20 people who keep COT truly operational year to year. I'm so grateful for that, because I'll tell you, without those 20 people, we wouldn't make it. I'm so thankful for that. Very thankful for that. Very thankful. Very thankful. I can only be thankful for that. But I suspect that we make a dent in the status quo. I just suspect that. I suspect that. But I'm very thankful for that. Very thankful. And I'm also thinking that's going to sound strange, but we operate, COT is not a place that ever has excess, right? We don't have excess. We have either what we need or a little below, but we have never had extra. You know that? You know that, guys? But the Lord sustains us. That's what makes it so miraculous. It does. It does. It's a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. And a lot of people listen to COT. A lot of people know that character Mike from around the world somehow, right? They do. They hear the word, but it's not associated with certain things out there. I'm thankful for that too. Very thankful. Very thankful. It is indeed a blessing to be able to do this. We shouldn't be able to do this. We shouldn't. But I'm very grateful for that. But folks, this first talk we had, I really hate that the sound is messed up for you guys on Mixler. How does it sound on all the other channels? Are we good to go? Are we good to go, you guys? We have listeners from all around the place. We really do. We even have a lot in Russia. We have a lot in Germany. We have a lot in Spain. We have a lot in the UK, of course. We have a lot in South Africa, North Africa. We have a lot in New Zealand. Brazil. We have a lot in Brazil. We have a lot in Argentina. I can't believe Argentina's numbers. I guess they're concerned about the ice. We have a lot in America, of course. We have a lot in Canada. We have a whole bunch in Canada, which is amazing. I think the Canadian numbers are past. Right now, on this stream, we have 6,462 in the USA. We have 3,560 in a portion of Canada, and another 2,590 in another portion of Canada. And we have two other portions that are full of numbers. We'll leave those be. One is 1,900, one is another 22,621. That's incredible. That outdid the USA. That's odd, isn't it? So we're lots in India, as they can maintain it. It's just astounding what the Lord does. Yet, believe it or not too many people know about they don't know how to get to the site. Most people have a hard time getting to the site. And a lot of that is my fault, because I actively try to keep COT away from search engines and things like that to minimize our footprint. I know what's coming with AI. I do. I know what's coming. And we're doing enough. We have some people of high integrity that in Asia, but I can't speak to that. I did that last time and almost put some things at jeopardy. So anybody out there in Asia who successfully is listening to us, and God bless you. But I won't be talking about Asia, because they're not allowed to do that. In fact, many of these places are not allowed to do that. Not allowed. Very thankful for that. And guys, this hacking map is terrible looking. It is. It is absolutely horrific looking. And I would suspect this because, again, Russia will have talks with the USA in Alaska, which is very troublesome to me. We know we're in the days of tensions, very strange tensions. But this cyber warfare is going to cost us. Cost many of us. But we live in those days. We'll survive. All right, guys, let me do this since you guys are having issues with the internet, right? And because I'm still doing a lot. Somebody said, do hackers donate? I have no idea. They could if they wanted to. I like PayPal, though. PayPal is moving quickly to be the number one most secure money exchange system on the internet. So I kind of like that. I really like it because they keep their records clean. I really like that. I like that a lot. But folks, listen, what we're going to do, I can see you guys actively going through some issues with connections, not necessarily with COT. It may be other things also, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to relent and give everybody a break, right, by ending this broadcast. And I'm going to watch these numbers to see how intense they become, because I have work to do right here with all of you guys. And if they start to, go down, because normally they start to go down at about 10:15 or something like that, right? 10:15 Eastern time. They will start to go down a little bit. They'll start to go away. And then people, your internet connections are a lot better. They're a lot better. Somebody says they've been hacked on PayPal for 3 years. Let me show you guys something about. There are people out there that have fake links to PayPal. That's how they're getting you. Always know the organization that you're working through with PayPal, because if you click on one of those fake links, it takes you somewhere else. That's how they're getting. It's not PayPal. It's essentially you're clicking a fake link to something else. So always know the organization that you're utilizing PayPal on, right? My shopping, for example, let me give you my shopping habits. This is a good lesson for everybody. There's no way in the world I would order anything from any company on the internet that does not have a long-standing history and that I'm not familiar with, right? So that means I'm going to order from places like Amazon or something like that. I will never order from anybody else unless they have a long-standing history, because a lot of that stuff is fake. You have to know the organization that you're working with. If you don't know the organization, you're going to click on one of those fake links to some fake-looking page, and they're going to get your stuff. Once they get your information, you're done for. PayPal itself has a very good... You're not being hacked through PayPal itself. Most people are clicking on links that have nothing to do with PayPal, right? It's like somebody puts up a fake link that says PayPal and it takes you somewhere else. You're not even on the PayPal network. You're doing something else with somebody else. So always know the organization that you... Because I have never had a problem with PayPal, not once ever. And the people that said they did, after going back to look at some of their stuff on PayPal, they never had a problem either. They were donating to something else. Had nothing to do with COT. That's how that works. Okay? That's how it works. Phishing. Sometimes that comes through spam. That comes through people on Facebook. Has so many fake things on it. I don't use Facebook. I don't like Facebook. I don't like social media. I don't even... If somebody sends... On my personal phone, if somebody were to send me something, I'll never look at anything from anybody who is not on my contact list. Won't do it. That's how you have to protect yourself, right? So when it comes to, if anybody donates to COT, go to the COT website and just click on the donation link. And then click on the link for operations for COT donations. Right? That's the safest way to do it. And you guys, if you guys ever point somebody to COT, make sure you point them directly to the homepage so they can go from there. Okay, but third parties, just do this with everybody. If you use PayPal, if you use a link to do anything, always know the organization that you're interacting with. Again, there are lots of people who they have problems with these financial institutions only to find out that they never had a problem with the financial institution, that they were diverted somewhere else. And it had nothing to do with PayPal, nothing to do with these other financial institutions. It's somebody tricked them into clicking a fake link to go somewhere else. Okay? So remember those things. That does you do yourself a good favor. Also, listen, guys, as we continue to get our internal network up and operational, I got you guys who are going to be evaluators for things. That form is going up there. A couple of forms. So next time you guys go to the homepage, when you see these areas where you can actually fill in information, make sure that you don't make sure you read it. Don't assume it's something. Like there's a section that has to do with the gospel and certain learning tools that are going to be on the website. There's something else that has to do with some of the entries for editors. And we have some other areas for other things. So it'll end up being comprehensive, but it'll still fit on one little portion of the page. So make sure you read through that well so that you're filling in the right area. Okay? Make sure you do that. Because I'm sure a lot of people, you may put or check a box of something you want nothing to do with. Right? So try not to assume it means something. Just read the little description and then respond accordingly. I'll do it as simple as possible so it's clear and concise so you guys can get in there and see. Okay? All right. Yeah, Mixler is kaput. It's kaput. Folks, let's say God bless you guys. Many don't. Well, you guys will. Somebody says many don't have COT accounts. You will. All that will be cleared, right? All that will be opened. It's very easy to get a COT account. Now, chatting is different, but to get a COT account, anybody can do that. But even that format will be different. It'll be different because we have lots of things we have to track and lots of things we have to get into, and everything needs a much cleaner category, very quick category. And I'm going to maximize efficiency on mobile devices. in a very unique way. So some of those areas will actually, some will have an option of running an app, not a web page, but an actual app, right? So it can calculate, it will use your device's resources to do certain things in there. And then other platforms will use none of your resources, but all of COT's resources to process everything. Right now, everything processes using COT resources, not your computers. And so we're going to we have a lot of work to do. It'll be done fairly quickly. But we have we're going to be in a new time, and AI is not a joke. It's not a joke. And so we have to we have everything built up against AI. Now, having said that, because you guys are still having issues, guys, I'm gonna let you guys go for a little bit. We're gonna let the whole system idle. If I do happen to come back on, I'm gonna do a couple tests. So you might see Mixler turn back on again. Okay? You guys might see Mixler turn back on again. If it turns back on, it's going to be a test. I'm going to write test in the description. You're welcome to, log on. I'm going to figure some things out with this, and so I can bypass a few things with Mixler finally. All right? Try to get it some better connectivity outside of normal channels. All right? Listen, God bless each of you. I'm going to see you guys next time, right here at the Council of Time. And we're going to continue this conversation we had tonight. But the next time we talk, there's some scriptures I wanted to read to you tonight, and the sound started acting up. Go figure. When we're talking about something that can actually give understanding to the foundation of the gospel, then things happen on the internet. It's okay. It's all right. Don't be moved away from your spot of peace. And remember, you're supposed to be exactly where you are. All right? It is the darkness around you that does not belong. You belong. The darkness does not. Remember that. You belong. The darkness does not belong. Okay? Remember that. God bless and keep all of you. Remember, our donation links are not broken. They're still operational. God bless and keep all of you guys. I'm going to see you next time right here at COT.